Yo, Grand Rising. What's up, everybody? How you doing? This is your Coach Renz, and welcome to the channel of Why I Left Religion with Coach Renz. If you find me for the first time, skip ahead to 5 minutes because that's when we really get started. Now, for those who are finding for the first time, what we do on this channel is that we talk about why we left religion as well as different spirituality. And we oftentimes do hit other subject matters, like we're going to talk a little bit about CRT and the removal of statues and things like that today. Hopefully we get some opinions. Hopefully we can get some people to come on and have a little conversation with us. We're streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Please share the channel, share the videos. I greatly appreciate it. Like, comment. When you come on, let me know who you are, where you are, whatever you want to say. Just let me know. Talk to a brother. As you know, as the owner of Smoking Phoenix Cigars, you know I'm about to light up a cigar in just a minute here. As soon as I make sure I take care of a few things, get everything right and exact so that we can continue to flow. I do want to apologize. I know yesterday we went up, met with Kevin West. He was supposed to be able to do a show. Had some technical difficulties in general with the internet in his area, so we weren't able to go live yesterday. But we're gonna have to reschedule that and go live with Kevin later on. Grand Rising Margarita, Michael, Cordero, Grand Rising everybody. How you doing? All right, so where we at? K Joe, how you doing? Grand Rising. So this is a cigar. This is a Toscano cigar. Let me tell you, Toscano cigar is a really nice cigar. A little oaky wood kind of spice to it. It's a real nice cigar. You don't have to humidify it. It's water fermented, and they're great for playing golf or just out and about. You can go to my website, Smoking Phoenix Cigars. You can actually order these, and they get shipped to you. But the Toscano, one of my favorite. Number one, this is a Classico. For a short smoke, then you got your number one. You got your Masquerades 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's not what y'all think it is. It is a cigar. It is a cigar. Ella Cordell. When have you seen a blunt with a wrapper on it? And this will be a big ass blunt. Wouldn't that be a lot? I don't know. Wouldn't that be a lot? If that is not a lot, this is the number one. Wouldn't that be too big? That's the number one Master Age. This is a Classico. That would be too big, wouldn't it? And the number 4 and the Duechentos are even bigger. There ain't no way in hell. Although I have had some cops run up behind me, and then I like blow a lot of smoke. Then they be like, I can see them, and they're like, oh, that's a cigar, and then they keep going. But I hope we get into some good conversation today concerning the topic. If anybody has anything they want to come on and talk about it, they're more than welcome to. I hope some of the people I'm going to try to do something that I haven't done before. I've shared the screen before. I'm going to see how well I can do this thing to show a few things. I'm learning all this today. This StreamYard program. I'm seeing if I can get a few people coming. But yeah, so we almost at the 5-minute mark where we just get started. How's everybody having a good week? We coming into the close of the week. Today's Thursday. Tomorrow I will be able to start on time. I know I told you guys I had to take one of my new daughters to a medical appointment, but I don't have to do that tomorrow. So we good to go for tomorrow and our on-time start. Of course, on time for these. Anytime within the 10 o'clock hour is on time. So welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. I am your coach Renz, and today we are going to be talking about CRT, as well as and some of the implications that have come about from CRT, which is the New York City recently put out that they are going to, let's see if I can do this, that they're going to take down some of the statues that are on like city grounds, city parks, things of that nature. And we're going to see. And there are people who are pissed about it. There's people who are mad. They think that you're trying to erase history. Now, I always think that the commentary about erasing history is a little much. So it's a little much with the erasing history part. It's not like you're truly erasing history. I wanted to try to bring this thing up, but it ain't coming up the way I wanted to. So let me try it a different way so that we can. I'm trying to get extra with y'all. I'm trying to act like I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? So let me just share the screen for a second and see if it takes me to the right place. It is not taking me to the right place where I wanted it to go. Yeah, but this is what I wanted. Fine, that'll work. Not exactly how I wanted it to be, but so we see that, right? Y'all know this was the title page, but it comes from a New York Post article that I happened to bring up. Grand Rising, Big Love. So we got this situation. New York City is saying that they're going to remove statues of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, as well as Christopher Columbus from state parks, as well as some of the federal buildings, state buildings. That because these men, granted as founding fathers of the United States, they were also treacherous in some of their behavior as far as being slave owners, which most civilizations today view slavery as being atrocious. Grand Rising Valentino. So since most civilizations see the harm of slavery, the hatred of slavery, they want to take them down. And of course, people are saying this is erasing history. You're trying to change history. You're not really changing history. Is it a change of history if we take down how they taking down these Confederate statues? Most Americans will agree with taking those down because they're not saying you're changing history. Is why are we glorifying the loser, right? The loser never should get glorified. And I understand the winner is always glorified. Washington, Thomas, they won. They won. They won the war, right? But in winning that war, they weren't the best human beings that we should glorify today. I'm on the, I have mixed emotions about it. Well, not emotions, because I have mixed thoughts about it. On one hand, they are the victors, and to the victor goes the spoils. The victor gets to tell his side of the story. The victor gets immortalized in history. The victor gets the statues. For as long as Saddam Hussein was winning in Iraq, he has statues. As long as Napoleon was winning, he has statues. They're now starting to take down Napoleon statues. The same thing with Idi Amin and some of these other people, Stalin, Lenin. As long as they were winning, they had statues. And then once they lost, the statues started coming down. Well, slave owners are starting to lose, whether or not the country is still, you won, you helped to create America, but you still losing. You're starting to lose now because the public sentiment has changed. The public mentality has changed. And we don't want to hear it. We don't want to see it in that format. I got to tell you, one of the things I found interesting when I lived in Germany is that there are no statues or anything of Nazism in Germany, right? You ain't gonna find a city, the state honoring it, like how you can go here to Stone Mountain, where I live, and they got all them Confederate jokers up there. You don't see that there. But they didn't erase the history. You just have to go to a museum and or it's studied in a classroom. You see what I'm saying? It's in a classroom environment. Um, that's where you can see it. I don't see what's wrong with that being the way that we do this situation. Why can't it not just be in a classroom? Why can't it not just be um, in museums? Because you can learn about World War II in Germany in the museum and in the classroom. It seems they are changing the narrative from a teaching perspective, and the monuments don't match what they are trying to teach the kids now. So, what exactly do you mean by that, Cordero? That they're changing the narrative from a teaching perspective? Because now that's one of the things. What do the monuments Symbolize? Every time I see a statue, like I go into my hometown, Marietta, there's a statue of this guy. I read the whole thing about him. Um, I don't remember his name, but it talks about how he was a great business person in Marietta, a great mayor, um, all these kind of things. But what it doesn't teach you is that motherfucker owned slaves. It tells you the accolades of a person. So, sure, George Washington, the story I was taught is completely different than what my children are being taught today. Can you come on here? Oh yeah, that's something I was supposed to look up. Um, what the heck did I just do? I don't know what I just did. Facts, they pick what they want us to know. Well, it's always been they're gonna pick what they want us to know. I just did something. I don't know what I did. They always pick and choose what they want us to know. That's something that always happens. But what are they teaching now that's different from beforehand? Are they teaching that they own slaves? Are they teaching that George Washington? All right, here's something that I didn't know until yesterday. I didn't know this till yesterday. Did you know that George Washington was granted land to give to his soldiers, but after the war, it was like 1,000 acres or something like that, or maybe it was even more. But then after the war was over, instead of him dividing that land up and giving it to his soldiers, he charged the soldiers rent to live on the land. Now this he's supposed to be this cherry tree honest joker. I cannot tell a lie. Now my teacher did tell us that was propaganda, but he's supposed to be the I can't tell a lie person. I don't know what I did on my screen. It shows Margarita Marsh up here on the screen. I don't know what I did. Still there. But This guy was supposed to. Oh, that's what I did. This guy was supposed to be, honest and everything, but then they told us that that was just propaganda, that somebody just made that story up, and so on and so forth. So, I had some teachers that actually told us, the truth of what, was going on with the guy. But then they never told us about him cheating his own soldiers out of some land. And I wanted to show you guys some of the comments that I got from people concerning this. How do I need to do this? Oh, I know what I need to do. I need to open this up as a window. Let's see if this will work. Learning new things every day, every day, every day. We learning. So these are some of the comments that I got from people on yesterday, if I can bring it up. Why am I being punished? Oh, maybe because I need to hit that button right there. All right. Oh shit! I thought I got the whole thing of this guy's comment, but he said that one. Let me see. Make sure you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. Okay, yeah, you seeing it. But he talks about, good comment. Normally, we agree about 80% of the time, which is cool. But he's saying that, do you really believe Civil War was fought over slavery? Hell yeah, it was fought over slavery. It was fight over the rights of states to own slaves. That's what it was fought over. It was in the Confederate Constitution that they were fighting for the right to own slaves. But he was saying that, and he's right, constitutionally, the South succeeding was not illegal. They succeeded. It was perfectly legal what they did. It was illegal, actually, what Lincoln did. But then he was talking about my family generations, and how black people sold other black people into slavery, and so on and so forth. He is up here, and now I can't even remember why I brought him here coming up. Because he was talking about how black people sold black people into slavery in the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade, which is actually a true thing. There were some black tribes that sold other black people into slavery. They were part of the slave trade until they realized exactly what was going on, and then the brutality of it. And then Europeans started just colonizing anyway and just started taking slaves, kidnapping people. But the fact that that occurred doesn't negate what actually happened. It doesn't negate that. It doesn't negate what it doesn't negate that these guys were slave owners, and that's something that we don't like to talk about. White Americans particularly don't like talking about that. Christian, who's good commenter, but he said that Washington, Jefferson, Jackson, without them, well, this wouldn't exist. Everyone has dirt. I have to agree. There is a difference. There is a difference. Founders of a nation and cruel bastards of a nation. So I saw that one as okay, kind of a meeting in the middle of the road. There is a difference, and yes, this country wouldn't exist if it wasn't for these people. That's true, but we will never know if this country would have been better off or not if we had stayed under British rule a lot longer. I know black people would have been freed from slavery, sooner. So there are, tens of thousands of lives that would have been saved. I know that they didn't have the Jim Crow bullshit would not have been able to go like the way it did if we were under British rule. So for Black people, creating America wasn't a great thing. And then this one, where's the one that, come on, oh, now this guy, I got to do a whole nother video about this guy and his. He's like the real history of slavery. The full history is not a narrow view of only U.S. history. Want us slave history? Now, this is where I kind of got, I'm going to have to do a whole video about this guy. He said the effing Marines had to be created to stop North Africans from stealing more white slaves than ever was taken to the U.S. Facts matters. Stop being a damn perpetual victim of your own bullshit. Now, as a U.S. Marine, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, through studying Marine Corps history, to which we have to study in order to graduate boot camp, and then I was always in units, the Marine Corps were not created to stop slavery. Now, granted, were the Barbary pirates capturing Europeans on land and at sea? Yes. The problem, the U.S. Navy was created because American merchant ships were being attacked and being raided for their goods. And yes, some of them white people were taken in as slaves. Two, so the U.S. Navy was created. Then the U.S. Marines were created to be pretty much the ground troops on those ships and fought in the Barbary Wars, as plural, actually. But it wasn't to stop slavery. It was the shipment of goods to protect the ships. Slavery just happened to be a part of it. Now, the North Africans were mostly Arab. They weren't Black. They were mostly Arab during that time frame. They were not sub-Saharan Black Africans. And not all Africans are the same. North Africans are different from sub-Saharan Africans. So, I want to go in on that video later. There was one that I thought I downloaded, but I did not. That's bullshit. That's some bullshit. Damn it. I'm going to see if they want to teach us. Have you heard Lincoln and Columbia are Black men? Yeah, I've heard that bullshit, and they're not. Now, the closer you can get with Lincoln, that Lincoln was a Munjan. Munjans are a mixture of a little white Native American and African. But within those groups, up in them hills of West Virginia and Kentucky and Virginia, the Munjan people, you can be more Native and white, or Native and Black, or Native white Black. It's a whole little mixture, kind of like Puerto Ricans. You ever see a Puerto Rican family? Them jokers can range within one little family group. So being Munjan doesn't necessarily mean that he had a lot of Black in him. Now, did he probably have some Black in him? Yes. Was he Black? No. This little one drop? No. You think them white folks would have elected that man if he was looking Black? No. And Columbus was not Black. Columbus was an Italian, straight up Italian. Now, does he have some Moorish North African blood in him by virtue of being an Italian? Sure. But Italians are kind of like, the further south you go, the more Moorish bloodlines that they may have, or North African bloodline they may have, simply because of locality. And the more north you go, hell, the whiter they get. And they've always been that way. Always been that way. Did they have North Africans throughout the entire time of Rome intermixing in Rome? Sure. Rome was like America today. Rome had a bunch of different people from a bunch of different places. I mean, they had at least 3 Black emperors who were Phoenicians, Punic emperors. But Lincoln being black, what we would consider Black? No, he's not even Obama Black. So no. Neither one of them are. Rocket or truck. My question is, what are they going to replace these money with? What is their agenda? I'm sure they haven't. I didn't see anything in the articles where they were saying what they're going to replace them with. What I did see, I am mad that I didn't download the right damn comment. What I did see was people were advocating for, all right, so if you take them off the money, because you got to think, on the money, you got George Washington, slave owner. You got Andrew Jackson, slave owner. Grant, slave owner. Madison, slave owner. Lincoln, he wanted to kick all the black folks out. But I leave Lincoln alone. He didn't own slaves, so yeah. Even though he wanted to get rid of all of us, but they want to replace him. Like they've been talking about replacing Jackson with Harriet Tubman. Been talking about this. Obama was talking about it. Ever since Obama's presidency, they've been talking about that. But none of them gonna do it. None of them have done it yet, I should say. So, damn, I thought I got that other guy's comment. So you can replace it with certain people. There is the possibility of finding those who does not have such a sordid history. Like Harriet Tubman does not have a sordid history. If you wanted a white woman, Harriet Beecher Stowe, Lincoln credited her more so for increasing the abolitionist movement and the the Civil War, more so than his rhetoric for keeping the Union together. Hell, you can put Kennedy on some money. You can put JFK on some money. You can put Dr. King on some money. I'm pretty sure there's some Asian people you can put on some money or some statues. But there's some people in our history that does not, we don't find perversive in our morality today. And that's the thing about it. As morals change, as people grow in their moral stances, then those people that are honored in the past may become reprehensible to our mindset. And that's just how history goes. That's how everything just goes. 1,000 years from now, maybe not even 1,000, 200-300 years from now, if England let's say England within the next 100 years get rid of their monarchy. After they get rid of their monarchy and they start going back, they may look at their morality may say, no, all them Queen Elizabeth and all them jokers, they were shit. They stole from all these people and did all these things. Hell no. And let me give you an example of where that's reality. In Belgium right now, and for the last at least 10, 15 years, they've been getting rid of all the statues and things of King Leopold. They still put him in the museums, but they've been getting rid of King Leopold because of what he did in the Congo and mass murdering 10 million people. And so now, since they're not caught up in their monarchy like the British people are, they don't look at Leopold as, oh, he was a monarch. They look at him as an evil bastard that he was. And they've been taking his shit down. Again, not erasing the history, just putting the history in its proper perspective. And it seemed like that's how they try to change the CRT to make it think that you're trying to erase history. And when actually CRT is erasing history. I mean, those people against CRT are the ones who are erasing history. I mean, look at in Florida, they're trying to teach that slavery was a benefit to black people. If that ain't rewriting some goddamn on history, I don't know what the hell is. Because I don't think if you pulled up, and you never say 100%, but I'm quite sure that 95% of people who endured slavery in America would not say that it was a benefit to them, that they would have rather stayed home with their families in Africa than come to America. And the ones who are native and they were enslaved here would have rather stayed with their people, their tribe, than to be enslaved. Even the white people, the criminals that they used to round up in Europe before the African slave trade started, they used to round up criminals in Europe or trick people into what in indentured servitude, bring them over here and work their ass to death in the tobacco field. So now, and there was a comment that I thought I had where the guy was like, I'm gonna find it. I know where it's at. I know where to find it. It just thought about it where I can find it. But these people didn't want to. Oh, I'm not too far behind. Shit. There you go. One of the first comments. Let me feel like from Stephen. I'll see if y'all can see that. From the guy Stephen. Not the way I wanted to do it, but it's gonna be done. I'm gonna hold that for a few seconds. So that's what I'm gonna do. So Stephen, one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and I wish Stephen was actually on here because I would want to explain this to him. He said you compare Washington and Jefferson, who helped found this great country, to Hitler and Stalin. I think one of the things that most people don't recognize, and especially Caucasians don't really recognize, is that they call this America this great country, right? And Stephen's one of those interesting white guys, in that I don't know what he was beforehand, but I do know I can, based on his Facebook, he has a black granddaughter, right? And the problem is, Stephen thinks that America is great, that this country is great, and for him, America probably is great, that this is a great country. But for people like myself, America has yet to become great. America has never been great in its history as far as I'm concerned, as far as my people, my ancestors are concerned. I cannot call America great. It won the Revolutionary War, but my people were in bondage. It fought multiple wars thereafter and was victorious in some, lost only a few. My people were in bondage. They spread across this country. My people were in bondage, and some of my other people were decimated and killed through the gun, killed through the germs, and killed through the steel. I don't know if you guys ever read that book. I haven't read it, but I was told about it. But guns, germs, and steel. But they decimated the people across this land. That does not make you great. You fought a war and took land from Mexico. Doesn't make you great. You then fought against yourself. And yeah, we were free, but then we had to endure lynching and fear, constant fear. Every time you was in and around white people, Caucasians, you're in fear. A little white boy, your little white boy walk up to you, you got to call him sir. Why this little white boy call you boy? Your vote, you weren't able to vote, or you were tortured, you were burned out of your houses, burned out of your land. America wasn't great. Even moving into World War I, World War II, fought, helped to win, but still treated black soldiers like trash. You start a housing program, and you make sure that black people can't buy the houses. You use redlining. You don't allow them to get loans. You drive the U.S. highway infrastructure through our neighborhoods that are prospering. When was America great for black people? When we do get tired of it and we start having the civil rights, you put dogs and cops and you beat people and all that sort of thing. you're not great. You didn't integrate, but then you start a war with utilizing drugs to infiltrate our communities, and then you use the welfare system to break up our homes. When is America going to be great for Black people? And that's what Stephen don't get. It may be great for him, but not great for Black people. The Black people who left America in the 1930s and 1920s and went to Russia actually lived a better life with less stigma than their families who stayed here in America. To Russia, in the USSR, when there was an issue in Russia, it was about all foreigners. It wasn't about being Black. It was about all foreigners. I literally forgot what it felt to experience racism when I lived in Europe for 3.5 years. The Black people who were in England, in Italy, in Spain, endured less bullshit than we have in America. So when has America been great? America has only been great for Caucasians. Now, are there some countries that people leave and they come to America and they're looking for opportunity and that sort of thing? Of course, yes. But the overwhelming majority of people don't leave their country. I always like when they take that argument to say that, oh, look at all these people who are leaving, Vietnam or leaving Africa to come to America. All right, so let's say you got 1 million people from Nigeria that's in America. Say you got 1 million. You're talking about a country that got, about 40 million people in it? That's the scratch. That ain't nothing. And my number on that might be off. Let me see. Let me take a gander. Why it won't come up? There we go. So Nigeria has 213 million people. $213 million. And according to the census, there's only about 461,000 Nigerians in America. And 392,000 of them were born in America. So about 85% of them are born here. All right. So they like to throw that, oh, all these Nigerians are coming here. Dude, you really only got like 100,000 of them that's come here. And the majority of the Nigerians who are here are born here now. Out of 213 million. Oh, I said 40 million. That's how many is in Lagos by itself. I forgot. Lagos is like overpopulated like a motherfucker. So when they talk about America being great, it's only great from your Caucasian perspective. The moment his granddaughter is pulled over by a cop and treated like shit, he will probably cease to think that America is so great for Black people. Is it better than it has been? Sure. Is it progressing? Sure. But it hasn't got there. That's why I said it has yet to become great. And then is it possible for it to get there? There's a slim possibility for America to get to a point where it's all, where it's fair. Greatest lie ever told, come for the American dream. Yeah. The American dream is to put you in debt. That's the American dream. And in this comment, he went on to talk about there were many slave owners that were Black, including Black slave owners too. Yeah, there are many Black people who did buy slaves, and most of them bought their families back. There were some that did own plantations and buy other black slaves, but the accounts of those, they did not treat they treat them like the Caucasians did. And you're saying I'm looking at history through 21st century glasses. Yes, I am. Exactly. I am. I'm looking at it through 21st century glasses because we have a different morality than they had back then. They thought black people were subhuman. We shouldn't just sit by and idolize that. I don't think we should tear up the statues and destroy them. Move them into museums. Let private collectors buy them. Let corporations buy them. And if they want to put them on their buildings, they can put them on their buildings. But as far as the government is concerned, what the government personifies, it should never personify people that have marginalized your current population. Sorry. You just should. Everybody does have some dirt, but there are different levels of dirt. There's a different level of dirt from George Washington owning slaves and Martin Luther King cheating on his wife. That's like, I got to I'm putting a foot of dirt on one person, but I'm piling 20 feet of dirt on the other person. That's different. A foot of dirt, I can probably get myself out of that. 12 feet of dirt, I'm probably going to die. I'm buried alive. It's a different amount of dirt. That's a different amount of pressure. It would be great for America to all of a sudden wake up and realize everybody is equal. Everybody is the same. But it's not the reality. And we shouldn't look at it that way. Teaching, but the only way we get there, well, one of the ways we get there, I ain't gonna say the only way, one of the ways we get there is for people to know the truth about all of it. For these Caucasian kids to know that their grandparents might have been participating in the lynching of black people just because they felt like it, just because they thought a crime had been committed, just because you wandered down the wrong street, that they were there at lynchings, that they were against integrating schools, or that thought that black people were subhuman, just because they were kids or teenagers during that time frame, or some of them young adults. These kids should know. They should know. Like, I'm 51, right? My kids grew up knowing that their grandmother and their grandmother and their aunts, and their great aunts rather, that they all were adults in the 1960s, that they were like 18 and 20, 21, 22, 23 in the 1960s, that they dealt with not being able to go into the schools that were all black, that they knew that they couldn't go and shop at Woolworth, they couldn't sit at this, they couldn't have a drink from this fountain and that fountain, they had to sit at the back of the bus. They understand that that some of these people that they deal with today, like when you're dealing with a white kid that's your age, that that white kid's grandmother and great aunts were young adults who were actively violent who could have been actively violent towards people simply for their skin color. And my son had to learn the lesson the hardest. He thought he could be friends with that little white girl. He got a rude awakening because the dad was older than me. So he was a kid during all that time frame. He was like 6 during that time frame. But the granddad was very much an adult during that time frame. He had to learn the hard way. What happened in our lifetime? See, by the time I came into recognition of what was going on, integration was already full circle, full swing. Been a number of years, before I realized it, 6, 7 years. Plus, the city I grew up in, Marietta, it had integrated like in 1964, like 62, 63, Marietta integrated as far as the school system had already integrated. That was because they wanted the black athletes. That's why they integrated early. Won all kinds of state championships. So my city was pretty already into it, but the stores and stuff. I do remember my mom making a big deal out of taking us up to Marietta Square and going to Woolworth and sitting at the lunch counter and being able to get a soda and a burger, and then walking into the stores up there. And if I had the mindset I had right now, I would have told her, hell no, let's go down the street, go to Mr. Strick's, where we've been going. Because we're going to kill our black businesses by doing this mess. But I remember being threatened by racists, being rolling up, and there's crosses burning in fields and all that sort of thing. But these kids don't know that. They didn't even be taught that. This stuff wasn't that long ago. Like, if you really put it into perspective, integration wasn't that long ago. Black people having the freedom to vote wasn't, we had the right to vote, but we didn't have the freedom to vote. But black people having the freedom to actually vote wasn't that long ago. Being able to, participate in life almost equally hadn't been that long ago. So they need to understand that their grandparents was fucked up. That their parents still might be messed up. What happened in our lifetime? There's a lot. Depending on what perspective you want to go with that one, as far as what happened in our lifetime. But we've had a lot of shit that happened in our lifetime. But which direction are you talking about? And I did see that it was great before they arrived here. Yeah, before Europeans arrived in America, America was great then. Because those people, they didn't have this sense of land ownership. They lived off the land. Sure, there was at a technological disadvantage to Europeans because they didn't have the need for it. Without the need, without necessity, innovation doesn't happen. And then there's other things that have to be in place for innovation to happen as well. If the Native Americans just had horses, America would have innovated relatively at the same rate that Europe innovated. At least Europe, China, the horses, people don't realize how one little thing, horses are native to the Americas, but migrated and died out of the Americas. If horses never left the Americas, then the Americas would have been just as developed. Probably the Central America would have been developed even further than Europe and China. But the horse is vital. If you could change anything in history that would change history the most, never let horses die out in the Americas, and it would change history more than any damn thing else you can think of. But America was much better off, much more. They still had their wars, but they didn't have their kingdoms. They didn't have their diseases. They would have if they had horses, but they didn't have all those things. Yes, I definitely remember Woolworth in the 80s, going to the lunch counters to eat with my mother. I was a youngin'. And yeah, it was during the time of integration here in New York and the parts where they were segregated here in New York. Where about New York are you? Curious. planning on coming up there for a weekend. I spent 28 days in New York and never left the airports. Well, the hotels connected near the airports where I stayed because I was working in the airport. And after 28 days, I was so ready to go. I didn't even want to go in that city. So I want to come to New York. Oh, yeah. There was segregation in the North. The North was, see, up north, I know what's wrong. I was like, why is my lighting so bad? In the North, y'all racism was a little different. It was all sneaky. Like, why it's so dark? That's better. Y'all had that sneaky racism in the North. In the South, our racism is right in your face, which is the way I like it. I like my racist open racist. Northern, y'all be sneaking behind your back through the cut racism. And then y'all had different levels of racism. Y'all had like the different levels between the Italians and the Irish and the Scottish and the Anglos. Y'all had levels. We just had black and white folks. There was architecture before they arrived here. Oh, for sure. For sure. But like what I'm saying, okay. So when I was reminded we was talking about this book, I think it's called Germs, Guns, and Steel. The germ warfare, the Europeans coming over and their germs, their viruses, because the Americans hadn't went through, the Native Americans hadn't went through Black plagues and Spanish flu and those sort of things. So when they came, those diseases, those plagues then hit the Americas. Now, the thing about that, the reason why the Americas hadn't went through those kinds of things, like China had went through their plagues because of industrializations. Japan had went through it. Other countries had went through it because they communicated with other people and they industrialized and grouped together into cities. The Native in Americas didn't do that as much. You did have plagues that hit the Aztecs and the Mayans and the Incas because they grouped more in cities than the people in the Americas did. They built mounds and monuments, and they built mounds and civilizations and small townships, but they didn't build great cities. They didn't have to go through the process of learning not so much just irrigation, but creating water systems to flow into people's communities. They were still a lot more nomadic, did some farming, but not a whole lot of farming. So we had architecture. There was building, there was construction going on. There were townships. But if you add the horse, all of a sudden the creek in Georgia and Alabama are communicating with the Pueblo in Arizona. And through that communication, innovation happens, trade happens. Well, trade happens, and then more innovation happens. Then the more trade and more innovation, the more people learn from one another. Farming gets spread across the country more so. So cities become bigger, population starts growing, and with population growth, you go through different plagues and diseases, but you also innovate from those plagues and diseases with better forms of medicines and better forms of civilization, and I'm saying all those things drive that communication, that ability to communicate with other people in different distant places drives innovation as well as necessity. See, European drive for innovation came out of necessity more so than it came out of communication with other people. So that's what I meant by that. But we still, there was architecture. but not to the scale that Europe and China was developing architecturally. Like sub-Saharan Africa, they didn't have to develop either like that because they had pretty much everything they needed. But if they had the horse, Africa would have developed just as quickly because the level of communication would have been there. They would have developed more through communication and contact than necessity. But they didn't have a horse. And I know some people, I've had this conversation with some people, they're like, well, they had a zebra. The zebra is more akin to a donkey than a horse. And zebras are stubborn as hell and they mean as fuck. It's like having a giant damn donkey. More zookeepers are injured by zebra than any other animal in the zoos or on the reserves. Zebras are malicious. Them things are vicious as hell. They wasn't gonna domesticate zebras. You still can't really domesticate a zebra. I stay in Brooklyn. I live in Brooklyn. However, my mother and my father are originally from Manhattan. And I moved out to Long Island to buy a home with different levels. Her parents and my grandparents. Okay. When me and Angelina come to New York, I'm gonna let all y'all know. I'm gonna let you guys know whenever we traveling anywhere, just in case somebody's on the pathway. Yeah, biological chemical warfare happened even without the intention of just when they showed up, because they just showed up. They didn't. The first people didn't come here intentionally trying to give diseases. Now we do have them motherfuckers giving out smallpox blankets and shit, but yeah, that is my biggest what if scenario. What if the Americas always had horses? If I went back in time and changed anything, that's what I would change. I would give horses to everywhere in the world. Horses would be like roaches. Everybody got them. There's been horses in the Americas. There have been horses in Africa. And in that way, I think that would have prevented a whole lot of stuff, because then people would have developed relatively equally. We would have more contact between civilizations, so conquering each other would have been more difficult. I've never heard of that one, where the indigenous people ancestors also trained buffaloes to ride them. But that's not going to be as good as a horse, though. Like, you're not going to ride a buffalo from Montana to Texas. You know, maybe if you put them and hitch them, if you had the wagons and stuff, then you can hitch them. So you'd have to have the wagon. I ain't never heard of trained buffalo. That one would be new to me. I've never heard of domesticating buffalo. The American bison, domesticated. They gave me the water buffalo in Africa. You sure that they did that, man? Let me see what I can, because that's it. That's a rabbit hole that I would definitely go down. Of them domesticating some damn buffalo. I'm gonna have to research that one. I'm gonna have to research that one, my guy. Because I can't see buffalo being domesticated. You know, think about horses. You go out and you see some wild horses, you start coming towards them horses, they generally run. You get close to some buffalo, they're gonna run your ass over. Always, and to me, it's funny because they tell people don't go near them. You know, y'all. Oh, look, Joanne. Look, come on, honey. Let's go look at the buffalo. Yeah, come on, bring little Timmy. Hey, Timmy, come on, let's go look at the buffalo. Oh my God, I can't believe that happened. I got ran over by a buffalo. You know what I'm saying? You said no, I'm wrong. They only 108 them. Oh, you thought you saw a picture of a Native American riding buffalo? I was saying, yeah, they use them for food. They use them for food. I've had a buffalo. I've had buffalo. It's all right. It's like a big ass gamey steak. It's all right. It's not something that like, ooh, let me go get this more buffalo. But they would, but yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that before we get off this subject too far, and we can go into anything, do you think that they should take these statues, that these people should be removed from, not removing them from history? Well, do you think they should be removed from public sight in such a way that glorifies them, and then just, but still, of course, in museums, in the history books, but telling the full story of them? Or do you think things should just stay the way they are? That it doesn't matter for future generations? Because as long as America is America, they will be glorified. If America were to go through, let's say, some kind of fracturing and gets broken up into different countries, then of course a lot of those statues would come down, because depending upon what faction takes over an area, it's gonna come down. Like if all the black people, if 76% of the black people moved to the southeast and then we broke off from America, oh, all them shits, that Stone Mountain shit is coming down. Oh, that's coming down. Any statues, they all coming down. Yeah, especially if don't let me be in charge. Don't you let me be in charge, I'll be tearing down all kind of shit. All right, oh, all them southern slave owners, no, they all come down. Your George Washingtons and Thomas Jeffersons, they don't matter no more. They all coming down. We're changing all that. That white man in Marietta Square, his ass gotta go. Nope. So what do y'all think? It's interesting. You know, I'm testing out some things. I'm testing out what my audience actually likes more so on this channel. Could be just because of the day. Not as many people on here today with this subject matter. And it's mostly Facebook. Y'all are fine with this subject matter. The lack is the YouTube people. There's not as many YouTubers on here. Learning some things. Let's see here. Why y'all tell me what y'all think. Yeah. There's only 6 people from YouTube that's on here. 8 from there. Okay. So this is not as popular of a subject today. I guess y'all really like the religious stuff more so than this stuff or the relationship stuff. You said demolish them. I don't think we should. Yeah, I can understand that. Said do them like Saddam Hussein, pull them down and break them. Isn't it funny? It wasn't the Saudi, it wasn't the people in Iraq who took down his statues and broke them. It was the Americans and the French and the British who snatched them down and broke them. They're like that. That was perfect timing. I move this thing around so much, it always loosen up. Grand Rising Debbie. Ooh, Debbie must have been busy, y'all. Normally, Debbie is like one of the first people on here. Well, for one, because we had no rights. The statues were put up in the first place. We had no say so in how the country was set up. Really, we were used for building. Yep, for the physical labor. They never asked us or consulted us about our opinion on policy and laws and culture. They didn't care about none of that shit on our behalf. Of course, exactly. There was absolutely, they try to make it seem like they wrote the Constitution knowing that future generations would abolish slavery and things of that nature. They didn't write the Constitution with that mindset. They may as well have just wrote it plainly like they meant it. Like, we the people, i.e., Anglo-Saxon land-owning white males, do hereby and declare this Constitution of the United States of America. That only us Caucasian, land-owning Anglo-Saxon white males have the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So endowed by our Creator. They should have wrote it exactly how they meant it. They should have put land-owned Anglo-Saxon land-owning white males. Look, even for you had Alexander Hamilton, and yes, I do love the play for Alexander Hamilton. It's a great play. I'm pissed off that it's cheaper for me and Angie to fly out to New York and watch Hamilton than it is when it comes to Atlanta. That's the bullshit. It's cheaper for us to go to New York and watch it. But anyway, because he was from the Caribbean, they ain't like his ass either. He wasn't included in the Constitution. And he looked like them. But we definitely wasn't. Grand Rising Renee, Skybox. How y'all just now getting here? It is 11:50. Renee, Skybox, Debbie. Y'all late. Y'all going to the principal's office. Now what? They didn't write those documents. They didn't write the laws, the bear arms, and all those sorts of things with us in mind or with women in mind. None of that was written with anybody but Anglo-Saxon land-owning white males in mind. So these were not great men as far as society is concerned. Been driving a work truck. I'm just messing with you. You doing laundry on your way to Atlanta. Where you coming from, Renee? And what you coming to my city for? You gotta make sure you got permission to come to my city. There's too many people here already. Grand Rising North. This is funny how a lot of y'all are coming in at the same time. But no, it wasn't written for us. This country wasn't built for us. Those men don't represent us. They don't represent what is on what they don't represent the majority of the country. You need to visit Athena. You mean Athens? Where's Athena? I mean Athena or Athens, Georgia. Oh, from North Carolina. That's right. You are from North Carolina. You know I don't really remember. There's too many people. Roadies of Color Convention. Roadies of Color. There's something going on in my city. I don't know about. Were Moors classified as white free persons? They were included and contributed to the Constitution, but were betrayed as usual. Well, I ain't gonna say Moors, but there were some black people who did contribute, but then they were betrayed. Yes. Yeah, come on to Atlanta, but you can't stay, Queen. You gotta go back. It's too many people. Now that whole Moors thing is a whole nother deal. Like we do recognize that the first president under the letters of confederation, the Articles of Confederation, was a black man, and he only served 1 year. But the idea of creating a cabinet and that sort of thing, he contributed to what became under the Constitution, what became the government under the Constitution, and some of the ideas that are implemented even bigger at a bigger scale by Washington started with John Henson, who was the first president. He was black, but only served 1 year. And there was like 6 other guys who served 1 year after that. But the Articles of Confederation was a very weak document. Didn't give the federal government hardly any power whatsoever. But they are. I'm tripping. I've never heard of roadies of color. What the hell is that? What's a roadie? Other than like a music roadie, like those kind of people. I'm nosy. Y'all know I'm nosy as hell. Oh, okay. So it is people who work behind the scenes. I tell you, Atlanta be having conventions of shit that I'll be like, what? Well, me and Angelina might see you in the streets, girl. Cause we do like we'll ride around the streets of Atlanta and people watch. I would never move out of New York. I'm a New Yorker as far as residency for life. You can have Atlanta all just well, I don't plan on staying in Atlanta, but I ain't no way in hell I stay in New York. It's cold as shit up there. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna remember this, LaQuinn, around February. I'm gonna ask you what the temperature is. Okay. There's a friend of mine. She may be interested in that. I'm gonna have to let her know that they're having this conference. She's a makeup artist. So I don't know if that would work with the roadie thing. But we can any subject matter you guys want to talk about now, we can discuss them. They can be, the floor is open. The floor is open to any subject matter. So you're gonna complain about the temperature being too cold and still gonna. I got you. I got you. But I ain't staying in Atlanta. All these goddamn mosquitoes. But the floor is open for any discussion, any conversation that you guys want to have now. Even if you still got something else about CRT and them and the removal of these statues and this sort of thing. Of course, I don't like just complaining and saying, but I do think that we do need to replace these people with people that hold more of the values that we hold today, more so than those people from yesterday who was slave owners, practically swindlers, since Washington did swindle his soldiers out of land. I mean, because of those soldiers, some of them were black. And if some of those soldiers, and then if even some white people should be pissed, because some of those soldiers some of those soldiers, families could have been better off. I do respect the fact of the soldiers, Caucasian or otherwise, who did fight during that war, that they should have got their just due, and they should have gotten land, and they have family members who should have gotten land. So Washington swindling them out of their land is messed up. Could you lead me to the day you spoke on the Pizos? It would be easier to find that on YouTube than to find that on here on Facebook. Even though Facebook does have playlists now, and I could go do that. Let me see if I can do this. Excuse me. All right, this is just for you, Norman. Just for you, sir. There you go, Norman. Here's the link. That's the YouTube link for the day that we talked about the Pizzo family. And you do realize the Pizzos are the Flavians, right? Flavians, Falabians, whichever pronunciation you like to use. But the Pizzos and the Flavians are the same family. So, and that wasn't too long ago that we talked about that, because how old is that video? Because it came up real quick. Yeah, that video is not too, like, about a week or so ago. Yeah, that was done on the 15th of September. So if you want to see it on Facebook, just you can go to my videos and go to the 15th of September, or you can go to that link on YouTube. Make sure y'all are sharing all videos, please. Yeah. But yes, they have been stealing land, culture, freedoms around the world. And they created a superiority. They wound up getting a superiority complex due to, and it's a funny psychology, due to their lack of what their land produced for the population. Innovation was created to go out and trade and find other people. But then when they run up against people who are less technologically advanced, they began to develop this superiority complex, as if technology makes you more superior than the other people, simply because you can defeat them in battle and you have developed techniques and understanding, and you think that that's intelligence. Well, it is intelligence, but you think that that is wisdom, I should say. just because when you got to the Americas, some areas hadn't even gotten to the Bronze Age yet, and you were into steel, doesn't make you, it makes you more intelligent, yes, because you have greater usage of material and understand materials better, but it doesn't make you more, it doesn't make you wiser. You know, you haven't become, wisdom is not your thing because of that. Wisdom should teach you that you contemplate, well, why does these natives, why they don't have steel, why they don't have, you know, why they're still dealing with iron ore, why haven't they developed into a copper age yet, or things of that nature. And you don't think through the process of the fact that they never had a need to. There was no need. If the land provides all that I need, why do I need to develop something else? And if I'm proficient at getting from the land what I need in abundance, I'm not going to do any more. Let me put it like this. Let's say I could just do one video a week on the platforms, and that video goes viral every time I put that video out. One video, and it gets, you know, let's say 2 million views, and the video is 10 minutes long every week. Why would I put out 2 videos, or 3, or 4, or 5, or 6, or 7, or 8, or 9, or 10? And let's say that one video, through the whole system of social media, gets me enough income where I'm good. I wouldn't have a need to go out here and say, okay, I'm finna every day I need to produce 6, 7 videos. No, you wouldn't. You produce one and go about your life and live your life. So somebody else will come up and they be like, man, you know, because I'm producing 6 videos a day, and because I'm doing that, I've learned this technique and that technique, and I've learned how to do, you know, all these different things with the videos, and how to promote them better, and all these things, because I'm constantly studying and following the innovations of it, and of doing it, upgrading cameras and lighting, and, you know, editing softwares and all this. They would have that desire to do that because there's a need. Because if they're not getting as many views, there's a need. You getting the views, you don't need, I'm good. And that's how the native people were in a lot of parts of the world. They were good. People in India, they had massive construction, but for the most part, they were good. Africa was good. The Americas, this whole hemisphere over here, they were good. They didn't need all that stuff. They were good to go. Plus, they also had religions that were land-based. That's another thing I forgot to add. Most of the world had religions that was more land-oriented, more animalism, where there was the spirit of the earth, the spirit of the water, the spirit of the animal, and being in harmony with all of that. So they didn't need to. Paul, what's up, man? That would be like, why would I go to the moon or climb a mountain? But in truth, it is like that. If the Soviets never put Sputnik into space, would Kennedy have been so hard up about the space race? If America never would have developed the atomic bomb, would Russia have went into gear of developing atomic and nuclear weapons, and then America got to build more weapons, and then other nations had to jump in and build more weapons? You know, there would have never been a need. It's just like, I know some people don't think we went to the moon. Some people do. Artemis 1 has already went back up there, spent just to go around it. And I think they're saying by 2025, they want to send a manned mission. But if you think about it in reality, Going to the moon is a waste of time and waste of money. It really is. Other than some national pride shit, it's a waste of money and waste of time. Let's just get away from whether it happened or not. Just look at it and just say, we all agree that it happened. Why would we go back? If there's no resources to gain from it, what are we going back up there for? Now, granted, are there some curiosities? Yes, somebody is going to climb a mountain because it's there. Somebody's going to invent something at some point just because, you know. And a lot of inventions come by accident. What was it? I was watching something, and the match to light a match, that was accidental. The guy was trying to figure out a better way to make phosphate. And when he was making it, and he put this little stick in there, and he got a little bit on there, and he accidentally rubbed it against a rough surface, and it lit. That was purely by accident that he created a match, strike match. And his dumb ass didn't patent it, and a whole bunch of other people patented it and made money off of it. But he did make some money off of it. He could have made more if he had patented it. But it was accidental. War and conflict in the Levant, in Europe, in North Africa, but not North Africa as much, is what started, is one of the things that pushed metalworks and metallurgy. If you change how combat and war was fought by those groups of people and how often they fought wars, and really is how often they fought wars, those civilizations may not have went into these Bronze Age and from the Iron Age to the Bronze Age and so on and so forth, because there wouldn't have been a need to create stronger metals, because most of those metals were created to fight wars. They want to mine it for the H3. They claim is there on the moon's surface. What's H3? I know they found titanium, but a mining, we are not at the technological level to truly mine the moon. We're so far from that. Getting it there and back, the payloads that you'd be able to bring back, it got to be something real precious. I don't know what H3 is. Oh, hydrogen 3. Okay, that still don't tell me that. Was that hydrogen with 3 electrons? I don't know what H3 is, and what is that, or what the benefit of H3? Like, what does H3 do? But there'll always be somebody who's curious. Now, Ricky Boatwright, there's some Boatwrights who are kin to some of my other family members through marriage down here in Marietta. I don't know if you got any Boatwright family members in Marietta, Georgia, but I have seen where that's a thing, colonizing the moon, colonizing Mars. I think they need to do some space station first. Be like that movie Elysium. Oh, that's a question. It was recommended to me while we talking about this sometime. It was recommended to me that some videos that I produce would be esoteric movie reviews, like breaking down some of these movies and some of the esoteric ideas and thought processes in some movies. If y'all would like those kind of videos, let me know. What else was recommended? Some reaction videos to people's stances on religion and relationships. If y'all would like those kind of videos as well, let me know. Oh, it's more combustion from this substance and much more stable. Oh, now if you got a bunch of, if that, okay, we can use that. We need some different sources of energy. Now, but I am with LaQuinn. If we can produce nuclear fission, since we're testing nuclear fission, and it's not that we haven't known how to do it. We've known how to do nuclear fission since the 1940s. It's just they didn't know how to do it and contain it safely. But since they've been able to contain these first experiments safely and the energy that comes off of it, now to be able to utilize that engine, that fuel. Now, if you can have a nuclear fission engines, oh, now we can do some shit. Nuclear fission plants, now you can do some things without all the waste and radiation. And oh, I think that would advance technologies very quickly on this planet. Remember Back to the Future 2 and 3? He had the Mr. Fission on the back of the car. He was throwing bananas and all kind of shit in there and beer. Movies tell more truth than people think. Okay, but dude, would you like for me to do videos about that, sir? We're not gonna get into whether or not they went to the moon or not. We beat the shit out of that horse about a week or two ago. No, I don't care. This is y'all station at some point. I think there's more evidence of going to the moon and more plausibility of going to the moon than there is not going to the moon. And going to a place and establishing a colony are two separate different things. Think about, let's bring it down to earth. When the Pilgrims and the Puritans came to the Americas, getting here wasn't a problem, as much of a problem as being here. If not for the natives, them motherfuckers would have starved and they would not have been able to colonize. They would not have been able to have a successful colony. So staying at a place and getting to a place, two separate types of events. In the same way as, the Vikings, they came to the Americas, but colonizing the Americas, and that's totally different. Now, their thing wasn't colonization to that degree at that time frame. Later on, they became more, they started colonizing more, but they were more concerned about where they were. But getting here and staying here different. The first Europeans to go to Africa, colonizing, they couldn't colonize at first. Getting to Africa, not a problem. Colonizing, big ass problem. And setting up their own little colonies was a problem. It was like 100 years later before they actually were able to start establishing colonies on the continent. The first colony, actually, the first time I think was the Azores or the Canary Islands, one of those two. And that in itself took some time. So coming into West Africa, even when they went to South Africa, they didn't really get their first colony into South Africa until the late 1600s, 1700s, when they got their first colony in South Africa, which was one of the most important colonies for them to establish, since their deal was to go around Africa to go get to India and China so they can get the spices and all that sort of thing. But they needed that Cape of Good Hope as a stopping point. Because getting to the moon, sending shit to the moon, not that difficult. As difficult. Establishing a base, that's difficult. You got to send up all the. It's kind of like how they built, not Mir, but what's the S? Well, even Mir. Mir. I watched a documentary on Mir, and then it went from Mir into the International Space Station. And it took them a while to figure out how to do mirror. And then from figuring out mirror, they were able to figure out, SSI became a lot easier to build that one. But they almost messed that up. Mirror almost wasn't going to be mirror if it wasn't for, it was pretty much an accident that I can't remember exactly what happened, but the guy, they was having a struggle of how to put it on there, because if they made it too long, it would buckle. And so the guy came up with cross sections, but even fixing where the cross section would work, it was something, a toy or something that he saw that made him realize, oh shit, this is how we can do it. And they almost canceled constructing mirror and making it bigger if it wasn't for dude seeing like a toy or something like that that gave him the idea of how to do it. I only saw the video once, so I can't remember everything. Usually I watch stuff like 2 or 3 times and then I got it. I can remember like greater details. But yeah, you got to figure out how to get the stuff up there. You have to drop off a whole bunch of parts and shit. Then you have to send some people who can put the parts together. You're going to have some kind of greenhouse situation going on, because you're going to have to grow food, some kind of methodology of getting movies. Movie 2012 is them telling us that Africa is the present and future. As Europe is sinking and burning, Babylon will burn with the fervent heat, as we are happening today with all their war. Oh yeah, I love that movie 2012. Now, I'm sorry, but that family that they focus on, them motherfuckers wouldn't have survived half the shit that they survived. But yeah, Africa didn't move because Africa is grounded. Africa doesn't shift. It doesn't have nowhere near the level of continental drift that the rest of the land masses on the planet has. But it surely did not flood. Mm-hmm. Hey man, hey, watch stuff, Paul. I love my movies now. But we do watch too many. We do get too caught up in fantasy. Do you know that also another Skylab? Yeah. Hey man, did you watch what was the movie with The Rock? With the Big 8, George, and the crocodile and the wolf. It was based off a video game, Rampage. It's funny. I had to watch that movie because when I was a kid and used to go to the arcade, I loved playing Rampage. And I was always the wolf. I love being the wolf. So I had to watch that one. But it does demonstrate how corporations will start creating their own Skylab, because up in their space labs, or Skylabs as you call it, because in that way, in that environment, one, you can get away with things illegally. That's one. But two, it's a cleaner environment for you to be able to figure things out. And if you mix them with some dangerous shit, it's better to be way up there than here. But even though some people, they scorn that movie, I like that movie. But it also shows how we are so caught up in genetic modification, though, and that we will continue to advance in genetic modifications. You can go, if you got enough money right now, you and somebody want to have a baby, you can pretty much program how you want that baby to look in certain genes and genetic traits you can give your baby. Do you know that also, and maybe this is common knowledge, but I'm not certain, penicillin was discovered by mistake. Yeah, penicillin was discovered by mistake. Sure was. By accident as well, in a dirty laboratory, on the off chance that mold developed on something in that dirty laboratory. Yeah. Penicillin was by accident. Yeah, a lot of discoveries were pure accidental. So why and how are they allegedly roving all over Mars, not the moon? Because they have roved all over the moon. China sent rovers up to the moon. India sent rovers to the moon. Japan sent rovers to the moon. They've sent many objects to the moon, robotic objects to the moon from other countries. So Mars would be next because Mars is the next place that fits a situation where you can do that. Venus, its atmosphere is so damn thick, and there's so much moisture and acidic gases and fluids on Venus. Venus wouldn't make sense. Mercury could make sense. It's rocky, but the heat is intense. But it's farther away. Mars is closer than Venus. I mean, than Mars is closer than Mercury. Plus, Mars is closer to the habitable zone than those other planets as well. Right, they're just sending digital stuff. There ain't no people. Even though I did fill out the application for when they were saying that they're gonna send those people to Mars, but you ain't coming back. I sure did. Yeah, it is crazy and amazing at the same time that we discover things by accident. A lot of things are discovered accidentally. Nazi Germany was like America. Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that, James? As far as innovation? Because them motherfuckers were innovative. They was coming up with some stuff. Imagine if they had came out with rockets and jet engines at the beginning of the war. It would have been a whole different kind of war. Imagine if they did not think that they thought that atomic science was Jewish. And that's why they didn't put as much effort into atomic science. If they had put more effort into atomic science and didn't look at it from a racist standpoint, the world would be much different. And that's what I'm saying. That actually validates what I said earlier. Intellect doesn't equal wisdom. Because if Germany was wise about that thing, they wouldn't have cared about Jewish scientists and atomic studies being Jewish. They'd have just cared about the results. If they would have dropped a bomb on London, an atomic bomb on London, or dropped one on Paris, that war goes totally different. I'm not saying it's going to be man at the high table, that they'll be able to, conquer America and all that stuff. But they probably wouldn't have lost World War II if they had developed rockets, jets, and atomic weaponry earlier in World War II. I certainly never would have got stationed in Germany. That's for damn sure. But we don't know if there would have been later uprisings that would have changed the state of that nation. Would they have been able to maintain control? Yeah, man in a high castle. Thank you, Paul. I don't know if they would have been able to maintain that level of totalitarianism after the war. Like that was 1940s. So that's been about 90, 70 years. Would they still be able to maintain that kind of? Probably not. Would the world have caught up? Yep, the world would have started catching up. So it's not like they would have been able to go and conquer China, or anything like that. China would have caught up. A lot of countries, the U.S. would have caught up. I don't think they might have gotten some parts of Russia, but you know, would these countries have just given up because of that? Japan giving up is different than America giving up, than Russia giving up. England would have been more like Japan, a little bit ass island, you gonna give up quicker. But the larger portions of the world, they're like, hell no. And eventually, he would have, just like Hitler, the Nazis turned on the Russians, they would have turned on the Italians, and the Japanese weren't part of their axis. Japan just saw opportunity, and they just, fuck it, we're gonna fight too. We're gonna take some shit that we want. It wasn't like Japan, the Japanese emperor and Hitler were communicating, they were friends. They would eventually went to battle as well. And I don't think you can't you can't conquer the world. There's not one country that has the resources or the manpower to conquer the entire world. China got more people than anybody else. Got a military that's damn near equal to the American military. Let's say China, when America went to war and China won, right? China wouldn't be able to then continue and conquer India and Europe and South America and Africa and Russia. They got a lot of people. They ain't got that many people. And then maintain control of all of that over a long period of time, be too much. The uprisings will be too much. This is why the Roman Empire could have never lasted forever because it was too big. It had gotten too big. Also, there are areas in the world that don't want to go modern. They don't want to modernize. I don't watch Christianity. I don't want Christianity. They don't want Christianity. They don't want anything there. They don't want this. They don't want this nothing disturbing their natural way. There are some, like the Aboriginal people in Australia. A lot of them they don't want to modernize too quickly. That island off the coast of Africa and India, they ain't playing. Modernization is not always a good thing. It breeds pollution and diseases and all kind of shit. But as long as there's a balance, you don't need to. Like some people like it to keep things the way they are. I'm not one of them. I like modernization. I'm like, bring it, but clean modernization though. It would have been cool if they would have figured out nuclear fission instead of nuclear fusion. But now that we've figured out nuclear fission, we have to go through this arduous process of replacing all this infrastructure of nuclear fusion, which, because of the cost, is going to take 40 years for them to convert over. Certain innovations, like your car running on water, it's going to take that they've known how to do that since the Henry Ford back in the day. But that damn gas, do y'all know why cars run on gas instead of running on water, on steam? Does anybody know why? Without going to Google, without going to Dr. Google, does anybody know why cars run on gas instead of running on steam? LaQuinn, you're going to appreciate the reason why. Because it does have something to do with what I said to you earlier. Does anybody know why? I know y'all delayed by a minute, 30 seconds or so. Anybody know why? No Dr. Googling. No Dr. Googling to answer this question. Now it looks like I'm smoking weed. For real, right? Now it looks like it's weed. It's not weed. For anybody in the YouTube land, Twitch land, and Facebook land, as I started this with as a cigar, this is a cigar. Does anybody know why our cars run on gas? All right. Ain't nobody answering. Lance think that was funny about the weed, probably. So I'll tell you why. The first cars, most of them, ran on steam. The petroleum industry, gasoline was a byproduct of them creating all their other petroleum products. And they used to dump the gasoline in rivers and oceans, right? They used to dump the gasoline in rivers and ocean. They thought that they was doing it the right way, the economically and environmentally protected way, by dumping gasoline into rivers and and dumping them in landholds. So you had two things that happened, reasons why. The petroleum company needed to figure out what could they say. They need to figure out a way to sell this byproduct of gasoline, right? And at the same time, people who were buying cars, and me and Angelina saw this. I forgot where we was at, where we saw. Oh, we was at a car show. It had an old Model T Ford out there. Got that hand crank. In order to start your car, you had to get out when it ran on steam. You had to get out there and use that hand crank. That's fine and well when it's 70 degrees outside. But when you're in New York, because this is where cars became prevalent first, is up north. When you're up north and it's 3 degrees outside, and you got to get out there and crank this motherfucking car and it's cold, people hated that. So the petroleum company paid I forgot who the guy was. He paid a guy to figure out how to create a gasoline starter for your car, and so that it will burn on gasoline, and then burn gasoline as the fuel. So but the first thing was to create a starter, and the starter to start the steam would run on gasoline. But the petroleum industry was like, no. Even though the first starter had like a small gasoline tank just to start the process of the engine and then run on steam, they forced the guy to make the whole car run on gasoline with the interior starter. So when that dude did that, changed the whole car industry, changed our whole need for for gas and oil. Because prior to that, making rubber, kerosene lamps, all those kind of things, that's what petroleum was doing. Couldn't do gasoline for burning lamps and all that because it ignites it, it burns. Y'all know how gasoline to burn. But that was the whole deal. The petroleum industry needed to find a way to sell their waste product. Gasoline is a waste product. And they targeted cars and forced the guy to make an interior starter that burns gasoline and make the engine burn gasoline. Now I'm sure the people up north at the time are like, hell yes, because there's a difference out in the cold than just getting in your car and. But that's the whole reason. Money. I always follow the money, right? But that was the whole reason right there. But if the guy originally, if he would have done what he wanted to do, and it was a small gasoline tank, but it still ran on water, we have our version of hybrid that we would have known about would have been water-based engines, but with a gasoline starter. And that's why it's horrible for the environment and it's fucking up the ozone layer because it's a water product. Because it's a water product. Oh, because it's a waste product. You know I'm reading this without glasses, so words be fuzzy a little bit. Yeah. It's part of the problem that messes up our environment. Eating meat and all this cattle production is even worse for the environment, for our ozone layer than the gas. That's a whole nother deal right there. But yeah, if it wasn't for that, now with the amount of cars on the roads today and trucks and everything, would we have a water problem? Some areas would. Like here in Georgia, we'd be fine, man. Every house would have, even though y'all do know that in some states it's illegal to collect rainwater. Like in Florida, it's illegal for you to collect rainwater. But they would have had to make laws. They would have eventually made laws or a federal law that made it illegal to collect rainwater. But if you didn't have that, everybody would have buckets and shit or water collection systems in their houses, at their houses, to collect water to fuel their cars. Hell, look at the guys who, what was it, like 30, 40 years ago, when they made cars that run on cooking oil, on vegetable oil. And it's weird. I don't know if have y'all ever been, I've been behind one of those cars. It smells like French fries. Like the exhaust, it smells like French fries when you ride behind one of them. But it burns clean. And they go around, they just collect vegetable oil from the different restaurants. They filter it and they put it in their cars and they drive. It's way cheaper. But gas stations wouldn't be such a big deal because you wouldn't need that much gas. And you got to think about all the farming equipment, the big trucks, all these different things that run on gas. Now, planes, I don't know if they would have been able to do planes that way. You're probably still going to have to create some kind of jet fuel. And because they might have figured out how to make planes fly with water. But remember, ships used to be steam-powered ships, you know, and they would have their water collection systems on the boat, collect water from the ocean, which seems very smart, right? You collect water from the ocean, you filter it through, I forgot what it's called. Starts with an O, not osmosis, so don't say that. Where you take the saline out, you take the salt out of the water, and then you fuel your ships. The black guy that created and the my dentist supposed to call me today so I can get those two tooth put in back because I can't say certain words. Yeah, the condensers from the sky, atmospheric. Certain words, you don't know how words formulate in your mouth until like you lose 2 teeth in the back. So atmospheric, my tongue wants to twist back there. But atmospheric condensers that pull water out of the air. Desalinization, thank you. So it don't start with an O. I was all way off. Stop laughing at me, Norman. But I didn't know that a black guy created an atmospheric condenser to pull water out of the air. You had no idea of that. I knew we could do that. I didn't know that it was a black guy who invented that. Yeah, but that would be is that like a is that the when did that happen with the atmospheric condensers? Because that sounds like a dehumidifier. Is that what a dehumidifier comes from? Or is this something new, Norman? Because you just hit me on some new stuff. Because I always known that we had dehumidifiers, so, especially living here in the South. You got a underground basement, you better have a dehumidifier in that joint. Otherwise, this shit gonna mold up. But yeah, there are tons of inventions. There's a whole. I think it's on the if you got Disney Plus, I think it's on the National Geographic channel because Disney owns National Geographic. Oh, during a drought in Missouri. Okay, but pretty much like but on steroids. I can imagine it would be. I think it was on National Geographic. They have a show called like, it's basically crazy ass ways inventions came about. And there's another show that I was watching, and it's like the top 100 inventions for each decade, and that was good as well. Like the guy who invented the slinky, he actually was trying to figure out a way to stabilize equipment on ships. And then when one of the springs fell, and he watched it slink along the ground, and then went home and showed his wife, and him and his wife put it all together and started selling the damn thing as a toy. Pure accident that he invented the slinky, and he was trying to do some high tech shit. But from the high tech, he got a toy and made his money off a toy. His name is Moses West, a former Army Ranger. Cool. Yeah. Could you imagine if you all super tech like you, like the guy who was remember the black guy who he was a rocket scientist for NASA, the black guy. But this joker, his claim to fame is the super soaker. And that's where he made his millions, off the super soaker. He made some money off me because, I was a kid in the military. We was running around. I don't think that's the VA. Hold on for 1 second, y'all. Lorenzo. Hello. 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 Hello, can I hear you? That wasn't the VA. I'm expecting my dentist to call me so I can set an appointment to go get them 2 teeth put back in. Yeah. Oh shit. Man, if y'all would have came on to Camp Lejeune in the summer of 91, on a Saturday, you saw a bunch of at Midway Park. You would have thought that it was summer camp because everybody had super soakers, and then we get the balloons and we fill them with water, and we literally, because we was all broke as shit, right? But we would literally we divided the neighborhood, Midway Park, into sections, and we fought water fights. The whole neighborhood. It started out with just a couple of people just outside, couples doing it against each other. But then this couple went against that couple. And then this couple got a couple more couples. And by the time you got about 3 weeks into the summer, shit, it was full on this side of Midway Park against that side of Midway Park. It was like broken up into 4. And shit, we all had super soakers. But this guy was a rocket scientist. And he came up with a damn water gun. Inventions come out of all kinds of come from people from crazy different pathways. What's sad about America and the racism, see how I like to pull it back, is that many black people invented a lot of things that we never got credit for. That light bulb up there, if it wasn't for a black man, Thomas Edison may not have ever figured out the rest of the process. You know, I give Edison the credit. He developed the majority of the process. Him and his team developed the majority of the process. Um, but that black man who figured out the filament, if it wasn't for that, never would have happened. And of course, it's like most things. Edison had a team, but Edison gets all the credit. That's how business goes. Edison was a racist, yes, but he was a businessman. You know, he didn't just screw over black people. He screwed over white people too, Caucasians, because he screwed Tesla over. You know, convinced JP. Well, he didn't have to really convince JP Morgan and all of them that Tesla's free energy power station was not beneficial, and said, look, fuck that free energy. We can use a different current and have repeat energy. We can make money on that. Yeah. Because you got to create all these power stations. You know, we can do that. But that free energy stuff that Tesla created, no. Can't make money on that, because Tesla's tower, all you had to do was have an antenna that would receive the energy, and then that's it. That's it. You just stick that joint on your house, your car. Imagine your car driving and it's just receiving energy as it drives. Yeah. Your radios, your house, everything is just receiving energy from the air. Economics always going to throw that off. We always going to have. I don't think we can ever get rid of that. I don't think we'll ever have this utopian society where everything is done for the benefit of the whole. I think that's one of the fantasies of Star Trek, especially when you get into Star Trek Generations, is that they give you this sense that the overwhelming majority of people are looking for how they can better society, not so much they better society by bettering themselves, not so much making a profit for yourselves. They still show some people of that mindset, but the whole of community is more about like building a greater society. Even if we took over the Southeast, we still ain't gonna do that. There's still gonna be rich and poor. You know, every tribal nation had the same thing. You had those who had more than others based on your abilities. So we're always gonna have that. We just don't have we don't have an equal opportunity to show how unequal we are, you know. And some people don't like the fact that I use that terminology, because that comes out of Marx and Engels' Communist Manifesto, but it's the truth. True communism, not what you saw in China, not what we saw in the USSR, is everybody given an equal opportunity to prove how unequal they are. And if you prove your unequalness that has more value to the community, then you get more than those who don't. Capitalism is theoretically structured that way, but we take advantage of people, those who have more, corrupt the system to make sure that their generations get more and they have more, whether they're equipped or not. You know, if you looked at, and I know some of y'all ain't gonna like this example, but you know, I like throwing darts sometimes. If you look at Donald Trump's father, whether you like him or not, he knew how to make some money. You look at Donald Trump, whether you like him or not, he knew how to make some money. But when you look at, what's his son? Is it Donald Jr.? One of them little jokers. That joker don't know how to do shit. His daughter knows how to make some money, but that one of the sons, I think he's the youngest one, that motherfucker's brain dead when it comes to making money. He don't know what the hell he's doing. But because of the influence of his family, he'll be put in a position that he truly is not equipped to do. You know, and that's how that stuff is messed up. Now, of course, these motherfuckers, they have done some jacked up stuff, you know, slumlording, racist stuff, stealing people's properties. They've done some jacked up stuff as well. Found out that the helicopter was invented by Paul E. Williams, a black man. I saw something like that. I don't remember the guy's name, but I saw something like that. And if you think about it, you see who was it? Da Vinci? He created like a helicopter type device, and other people in the past tried to create helicopter devices, couldn't figure it out. So you build on what they did. I don't know how much those things influenced that guy, Paul E. Williams. Did you hear about the African guy, why he created electric cars that doesn't need to be charged, or the TV that doesn't need to be plugged in? He also created a helicopter that doesn't need fuel. Hell no. I didn't see that one. But see, economics. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, you can't create nothing that doesn't make people have to rebuy it or buy something to keep it going. If you create it and it doesn't have a repetitive monetary value, this is why they don't cure any diseases. Nah, I got to keep you somewhat sick, but just living. You know, I doubt if that guy's inventions will ever go mainstream. They'll put that shit on the shelf. Just like there's washing machines that only uses sound and water, and it got put on the shelf. They paid the dude $10 million to put it on the shelf, to buy his patent. They put it on the shelf because it lasts too long. And I think it was GE who bought it and put it on the shelf, like an Australian guy who created it. And we were like, hell no. We need people who got stuff to tear up. We need them drums and all these other things in there so they can tear up, not just put it in there, fill it with water, the sound waves and a little bit of movement causes it to clean. Nah, can't have that. Tesla is the most brilliant man of the last 100 years. I don't know if you know, but Tesla inventions are still to this day regarded as a threat to national security. Yeah, I do know that. And the claim that they went in and they destroyed all his technology and stuff, I don't buy that one. I think they went in and that shit is, in a way, like, you remember Indiana Jones when they had that big ass warehouse and they put the Ark of the Covenant in that big ass warehouse? His stuff is like that, secreted away. You think they killed the African guy, or they killed Tesla? I know they broke Tesla, made him seem like he was crazy. I don't know if they killed him. Yeah, they're not gonna give him a patent for that stuff, man. Tesla was on some serious things. And what did he say? If you want to understand, I know he said something about if you want to understand life, then you have to understand energy and frequency. And 369 is key to that understanding of energy and frequency, which 369, I believe you start looking at your Fibonacci spiral. Yeah, I mean, it goes deep. It's way deeper than what I know. Attended a science conference where a P&G speaker admitted that they're not interested in curing disease because it's not lucrative. They're not. This is the sad part about it. If I was responsible for a company like Procter and I'm guessing P&G is Procter and Gamble. I'm responsible for Procter and Gamble or Pfizer or something like that. If I got a scientist who comes up and say, hey, I figured out how we can just cure cancers, all of them, you'd be like, bruh, I need you to tone that down so that a person has to repetitively receive treatment. Let them live a normal life, but they need this treatment or it comes back aggressively. You know, that's why what is it, when you get the radioactive chemotherapy, they know you're not going to survive, but they can prolong your life for another year, 6 months, year, 2 years, maybe even 5, 6, 10. They'll get chemotherapy better where you can prolong your life longer, but you can still got to keep coming back. There ain't no money in the cure. You don't think it was his technology? He was just a front man like Einstein. Reverse engineering old tech. I've heard those theories on that, Lance. Because it's interesting. Einstein, if you look at Einstein, he came up with most of his shit like in 1 year, and then didn't come up with nothing else. So it's like, what happened in that year that he came up with everything that he's really known for? You know, and was he just a front man? Could be. They poisoned him 2 times, but he is still alive. They also tried to kill Moses West when he was trying to help the people in Flint, Michigan. Hell yeah. Oh, so this guy, Moses West, this is recent. You can't. Tomorrow World. Is that a movie? You you can't keep these people. You can't if you let these people thrive, and certain industries are not ready to be disrupted. It takes a gradual process to disrupt an industry. But when you disrupt the industry where people make a one-time purchase, they not that's you treading on some thin ice. You need to have your um, you gotta watch your back on that one. It's like, who is it? Royal Rife. If you guys ever go look up Royal Rife, he used frequency and sound waves to cure 16 people with cancer. And then the American Medical Association ransacked his office. They took away all his patents, and he was murdered. Royal Rife was murdered because, and this guy was, I think, in the 1930s. So if you could you imagine if he had the internet? See, the safest thing to do. Let's say one of you guys go back and y'all start reverse engineering Royal Rife's technology, figure out how to make his machine, and then you cure cancer. The safest thing for you to do is not to set up a clinic and say, I can cure cancer now, or to go to the AMA and say, I can cure cancer, all that. The safest thing for you to do is put your shit out on the internet and let it be free for everybody to find out about it. That's the only thing that's going to keep you safe. I think to me, that's one of the reasons why old boy put how his Tesla engine works out there for the general public, because I think he did it for safety. Now, the money part for him is not the cars, not Tesla's cars. It's all the land he's purchased along the U.S. highways, so that when everybody converts over, or the majority of cars are converted over to electric, then he already owns the land that people need to refuel their vehicles when they're traveling across the country or going anywhere. The land was the money part of it. Give out that information free. If he was just trying to keep all the technology to himself, yeah, they probably would have killed him. Yeah, they wouldn't have. Yeah, old boy, I forgot his name, even though it was right at the tip of my brain. They wouldn't. Exactly, they will kill you. It's recent. Then the shot of water machine, when just recently helping the people in St. Louis. So they shot his water machine when he was trying to help people in St. Louis. Was St. Louis having a problem? I didn't know. I don't know what problem St. Louis is having. Yeah, but that's what you do. If I was into inventing stuff, if I got into inventing stuff, what I would try to do is figure out Royal Rice machine, because if you can cure cancer with frequencies, then what else can I cure with these frequencies? What other diseases? And one of the big diseases I would look to try to cure would be Alzheimer's and dementia. because out of every freaking disease in the world, the one that I'm most concerned about is dementia and Alzheimer's. I would rather lose limbs than to lose my mind. No. Have y'all ever, have you, we just watched this series. It's a short series, six episodes. The Last Days of Ptolemy Gray. Have any of y'all seen that? The Last Days of Ptolemy Gray. It's on Apple TV. Really, it's a good series. Samuel Jackson is the star of the show. It's one of the first time I've seen Samuel Jackson carry a show, and he was good. He's a great co-star. It's rare that he carries something, but he's made his money being that great co-star. But Ptolemy Gray, he's got dementia. Well, no, he got Alzheimer's. I think it's Alzheimer's more so than dementia. But gets this experimental cure, well, it's not a cure, but experimental process. And for like 8 weeks, he's sharp, remembers everything. Now, I don't want to remember everything to the degree he was remembering. He was remembering can you imagine remembering everything to the smallest detail from your whole life? That's too much memory. That's too much. But when they show him and how he is when you're dealing with Alzheimer's or dementia, and they also show this one lady a couple of times, that's put me at the edge of a cliff, and then you go check the car for a minute and you won't see me when you come back, kind of thing. I do that because he was explaining that when you have that, every moment of your life, you're afraid. To be afraid all the time. I wouldn't want that one. But I would, if you can figure out that would be some shit. That would be the thing that I would work on. But I would make it free to the public. Because like Christians saying they would kill you, you better make that free to the public. You can cure cancer or cure almost any disease, make that shit public. Because you just gonna have to suck it up and say, hey, the way I'm gonna make money off of this is the fact that I'm gonna be known as the one who created it. Sure, I'm gonna get my first big thing, because you should get the Nobel Prize in medicine for that. So that's $1 million right there. And then I'm gonna go around doing talks about it. And you make some money talking about it. You ain't gonna make any money on they'll kill you first. You know, the drug company's gonna kill you, the government gonna kill you, all kind of people gonna be gunning for your ass. So I'll just make this machine you can cure diabetes, you can cure Alzheimer's, you can cure cancer, you can cure HIV, you can cure osteoporosis, everything. It's all about frequencies and energy, and bam. These are the frequency keys you need for this disease. This is the frequency cycle that you need for this one, that one, that one, that one, and that one, and that one, and boom. Put it all out there. And just say, hey, I made it. Y'all can have it. Because, especially if it's simple to make, like, doesn't require, maybe cost you about $3,000 to put it all together. Hell yeah. That's how you do it. If you want to live. So if any of y'all are working on that, let me know. Let me know. Just like I was, another one. I was talking to some microbiologists, and I was talking to them about since cancer, and they study cancer cells. So I was like, since y'all studying cancer cells, the telomeres in cancer cells never go away, which makes the cancer able to consistently and continuously regenerate itself forever. But your normal cells the telomeres decrease every time they replicate. Once there is no more telomere, as they decrease, this is what creates aging. And at some point, your organs fail because they're not able to replicate themselves over and over again. And so once those cells start dying, all your organs starts failing, and we just call that you died of old age. You know, if you can figure out how to make all the cells in your body never lose their telomeres, you just cured aging, and you really can cure everything at that point, because your immune system will never get weak. Your immune system will stay strong. Now, of course, it's still got to fight off some of these things, but it's fighting at optimal. Your immune system will be optimal at that point, and you'll be able to fight off pretty much any disease. You know, as long as you're not poisoning yourself with more and more jacked up stuff. So, like, if you just stop eating meat or decrease the meat intake, instead of your body fighting the toxins in your gut as much, it will fight the other issues that you have in your body. This is why when people stop eating meat, they start feeling stronger, they feel more, they have more energy, because now your immune system is fighting the arthritis and all these other things that are in your body. So that's the other one, is telomeres. The saddest thing to watch and go through a loved one is watching a loved one go through Alzheimer's, but they said it has something to do with all the fake sugars we eat. So new recent studies said it's like diabetes of the brain. Oh, interesting. Because I can tell you right now, not including that, I drank a little bit of Sprite yesterday. But that's interesting. I'm gonna look that up, because that's the only thing I'm concerned about, really. Anything else I can deal with to a certain degree, but that one right there, you can't deal with it. You just ass out. But okay, but definitely, and it's crazy. Every time I talk was, you know, what's interesting. Every time I talk to some scientists about telomere and put it in that framework, well, one, they always look at me strange, because they was like, who are you to talk about those things? Because, you know, they like, well, what degree you have? It's like, I don't need no degree, I can read. But there is a sense of, I did talk to one group, and they had a sense of, our corporation is not going to allow us to do that. Like, if we tried to go, one dude just told me flat out, if I went into the lab and I started working on that, they would shut me. He was like, his company would shut him down. They would shut him down. I'm not going to say the guy's name, not going to say the company, but he was like, their company would shut him down, and he would get fired and probably get blacklisted, because he was like, they would not be interested in that. You should listen to Yaki Awaken. Your perception on disease will flip. Well, tell us, Ethan. Flip our thing on diseases. Flip it. Because right now I'm more Dr. Sadie on disease than anything else. So tell me about it. Don't be holding. This is an open forum for us to share information, sir. So tell us about it. Don't give us a little brief little. See, you got to give us. See, let me tell you. See, marketing, Ethan. You got to give us just enough of the juice to spark our interest. You can't just say, go listen to Dr. Yaki and it'll change it'll flip your perception on diseases. You got to give us a little bit, you know, like, oh, he's a student of Dr. Sabi. He's cool, but he's part pseudo as well. Hey, Don't knock pseudo. I don't knock pseudo. I used to, but then I started looking at how many things were considered pseudo, but then they become reality. Like he's going on to become a biochemist. So they did kill Dr. Saban. But continental drift I love pulling that one out because you can't deny it. But continental drift was considered to be pseudoscience at one point. And then they had to go back and be like, oh shit. You know what? He was right. So just to throw a dart. Galileo and Copernicus saying that the Earth wasn't the center of the solar system and that the Earth revolved around the sun and the Earth was a sphere. That was considered pseudo. And what was it? You had Pope John Paul II, up until like 1940, 50, something like that. No, 1970 is when they finally was like, we treated him wrong. The church was wrong in how they treated him and treated his information. And, they had been said that he was right, but they finally finished their system of apologies in the 1970s. So I don't knock pseudo as easily. I just watch it for more development. But so what is he saying about disease? So what is he expanded on beyond Dr. Savy? Like I used to be one of those people who said that, oh, you gotta get pH balance. When I was a personal trainer and I did personal training, life coaching, fitness, and nutrition coaching when I owned my gym and I was a personal in-house trainer. So back then, my understanding of something like pH balance was that you got to get your body to that 7.2, 7.4 pH so that your body has pH balance. It wasn't until maybe 5-6 years ago that I started understanding more that each organ of your body has a different pH level for it to be in balance. And then how you eat and what you eat and how those things affect the different organs so that each organ can get into its own pH balance, which then makes your body healthier, to use a basic term. So, that pH, that 7.2, I think that's mainly was about just your stomach comes in the pH balance in around 7.2, 7.4, something like that, or 7.6. Is when your stomach comes in the pH balance. But your liver and pancreas and all these other organs have a different level of pH balance. And there's certain foods that affect those more so. Because that was 2018, that was during 2018 and 19 that I started understanding that at a deeper level. Now, I have lost my weight in the last year eating properly. It's my fault. All right, here we go. Example, type 2 diabetes can be healed with dietary changes. It's a matter of allowing your pancreas to rest, detox, etc. So that's what he talks about, things like that. Okay, I'm with you. Yeah. What you eat and drink. And then it's eating, drinking, de-stressing, and then if we can figure out frequencies, truly figure out these frequencies, you can get your body into such to use the term holistic format where it extends your life. Now, of course, the earlier you start, the better. You can't wait, till you damn near 80, and then it's like, oh, I get my body into better pH balance. You better start now. Start right now to get your body in pH balance. Okay. So he ain't gonna be able to go to the 2. So I got to go somewhere after 2 o'clock, but I want to go and get back before traffic. Um, and I got to shoot some videos before I go and do any of that. Anyway, but yeah, you got the earlier you start, the better. Alkaline foods versus food that create a lean acidic environment in the body. Yeah, I do need to go back and re-educate myself on nutrition to the level that I was at back in like 2020, about 2020, 2019. I would back then I would go outside in my yard, and some of these things that are considered weeds, like before the lawn man comes, I would pick those things and make tinctures out of them. And I have certain tinctures and everything, because even though I take a slew of vitamins every day, to be honest, your body is only really utilizing about 30% of those vitamins that you take. Most of it you piss away and shit away, and it never gets to the portions of your body that it's supposed to be beneficial towards. But it's the lazy way. It's the commercialized way, because it's easier to um, just go to the store and buy some peels or buy some tinctures than it is to go out here, pick all your dandelions, get your dandelion roots. Shit, I forgot the process. I know you eventually wind up putting it into a jar filled with alcohol, and a certain type of alcohol. Let it sit for 30 days, and then after 30 days, you can use it as a tincture. And dandelion root is great for helping you to filter your kidneys and your bladder. It won't make you go to the bathroom, but when you go, you will generally empty your entire bladder. Because like for instance, I watched one of my colonels, when that kidney stone passed from his kidney to his bladder. When I tell you that grown ass man was laying on the floor, grown big ass Marine, on the floor in a fetal position, hollering. I was like, no, sir. So when I really discovered or understood dandelion root helps you to filter your system and get those, and then not taking in, getting all that calcium buildup and all that kind of stuff, which creates those kidney stones. I met women who said that they would rather go through natural childbirth than to pass another kidney stone, because they had past kidney stones. And the comparison, when you got some people compare the two, you got to lean on that. And they was like, natural childbirth was less painful than passing the kidney stone. I ain't trying to do it. Nope. Not trying to do it. But keeping and you got to think about it, your kidney and your bladder are vital. Cleaning that is vital to also, it's vital in the fact that if you have a bunch of crap sitting in your bladder, that toxicity, you are diverting your immune system, your lymph system, into making sure those systems aren't messing up your body. So your gut, everything that's going in your body, all the waste material that you have, the least amount of waste you can have in your body, the better your system is. Boiling shepherd's needle in a tea is also good for the body. Shepherd's needle, that sounds so familiar to me. What does it do for the body, Valentino? I encourage looking up Yankee Awakening. He teaches the science behind physiology and is a master herbalist. This is not an advertisement. Simply think we all can benefit. Yeah, that's cool. I didn't take it that way. But yeah, now that I actually have more time, those are things that I will become more involved in. YANK, what is that name? HKF. Yeah, I wouldn't want to go too. I'm not going to. That is something that I will talk more about later as I reacquaint myself with it. Because I'm at the halfway mark. But I can say that half of my 25 years, 25 of my, I'm going to say 20 years of my 50 were in a healthier state. I lived a healthier life. Now the Marine Corps and all the damage it did with all that damn jumping and stomping and boots and hats and all that, reversing that arthritis would be a great thing. Because even though my son beat me in basketball and can beat me up Stone Mountain, I need to get my revenge. I can't let him. It's too early in life for him to start beating me and things like that. We can't have that. So he don't know it. Don't tell him. He don't know it. But like next summer, me and my brother are gonna ride our bikes cross country. We're gonna stop and see him up in Washington State. So between now and then, I gotta get this body right. And I'm gonna get my basketball skills back up. Because when we up there, I'm gonna go play ball against him. You know, I'm gonna whoop his tail. And right now, he don't know I'm a trick. And he's coming home during the Christmas holidays. You know, I'm gonna play him during Christmas so I can assess where his skill set is at. Right? So that when I see him in the summer, I'm gonna whoop his ass. Cause we're not gonna have that. Biden Philosoph is a scientific name. It reduces pain and it affects a treatment. It affects at treating ulcers, infections, inflammation, and irritated tissues in the mouth, throat, stomach, digestive system, and skin. Okay. I like that. I'm gonna write that down. Some shepherd's needle. Yeah. Because I also got to clean out my system and get everything squared away so that I can start my experiment on making a philosopher's stone to see if I can accomplish it, the philosopher's stone. You know, now that I have time. Who had asked me for that? I got to check and make sure I sent that to him. Oh boy. Because there was one person who wanted to try to do it as well. But yeah, I got to get that philosopher's stone so I can turn base metals into gold. But mainly it's about that elixir of life. Yep, it's some magical woo-woo shit, but I don't care. I want to try it. But we are about to close it out for the day. But I do see there's an interest here in the herbalism and all that kind of stuff. So I will, because I'm not as knowledgeable right now, there are certain people that I can contact and see if we can do like some collaborations on that subject matter to go more deep. Because I do know a few master herbalists that can get down on some stuff. But looking at the time and knowing that I'm probably going to break camp from here around 2:30, there's some other things I need to take care of before I leave. So I appreciate you guys. We'll be here tomorrow. Y'all gave me some good information, good insight for other subject matters you guys want to talk about. You're always welcome to post in the comments or email me of different subject matters that you guys may want to talk about, because even though I do these shows, one, so that my kids will have my knowledge as they grow older, but the other part is so that us of like mind can have a greater life. It's not just about having a greater spiritual walk and finding our own path, whether there's no existence of any deity. There's a deity, but it ain't got nothing to do with all these religions. But definitely we are all walking away from these religions. But So we break those down. We'll continue to break those down. But other things that enhances your psyche, your mindset, that makes your life better. The all-around coaching me does desire to talk about finances from time to time, talk about health from time to time, because all of it is part of your development, And if we heal ourselves, then we can heal our children and we can heal our communities, and then we can build on that, of being greater than what we are today. So we all gonna get in shape. This right here gotta go. This right here gotta go. This gotta go. I cannot do another year. I picked up 30 pounds in 1 year. Thank you very much, Angelina. I appreciate the 30 pounds, but it gotta go. You cook too damn good, but it gotta go. So I appreciate y'all. And I look forward to our conversations tomorrow. Who said they was coming to Atlanta? I don't know if she's still on. But Renee, just like when some other people that I've known came to Atlanta, if there's a way for us to just say hi, that'd be cool. I like meeting the people that, put in a face on everything. So any of you guys are ever in Atlanta and there's a way that we can at least shake hands one time, that's cool. If things align themselves correctly. So, with that, y'all have a great day. And remember, always, you got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is not negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations. And I will see you guys tomorrow around 10:30. Deuces.